Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
Porter moved. Harper was so impressed with him that Porter was appointed to a Blue Ribbon Health Board in 2006, and then, to the surprise of many in 2008, to the Security and Intelligence Review Committee, that made Porter privy to the country's most closely guarded secrets. The Prime Minister asked then Bloc Québécois leader Gilles Duceppe to endorse Porter's federal appointment, but he refused.
We checked and we discovered that Porter had problem at the Detroit Medical Center back in '98 or something like that. And investments also in West Indies, in Sierra Leone, things were not clear. And I said to myself, well, we just can't name someone at such an important job, kind of Canadian CIA, with doubt on the same person.
Porter was now a key member of the Canadian establishment. The Prime Minister appointed him to the Queen's Privy Council, and he was invited onto several corporate boards, including Air Canada. Then he made a fateful decision to add one more title to his collection. He was named Ambassador Plenipotentiary for his home country of Sierra Leone, meaning he should be treated as the personal emissary of that country's president, Ernest Koroma. According to his new letterhead, Porter was now to be addressed as His Excellency.
I was offered by the government and the president, and I was very pleased to accept that. It's an honorary type of position, really. It's called plenipotentiary, but it allows one to actually help the government in some of these areas that we've been discussing.
Porter's appointment raised no alarm with the Canadian government. In June 2010, he was elevated to the chairmanship of Canada's Security and Intelligence Review Committee.
Porter was named at such an important function, at the same time representing a very corrupted country and having such a past. Well, Harper should answer that.
While he was on Canada's Security and Intelligence Review Committee, Arthur Porter made a fatal mistake. It was an astonishing decision to solicit money from the government of Russia. The middleman he chose for the deal was a notorious businessman and reputed arms dealer, the former Israeli intelligence agent Ari Ben-Menashe, who now lives in Montreal. Ben-Menashe has been in the news for years. He was unsuccessfully prosecuted in the United States for trying to sell military aircraft to Iran. He has operated as an agent for several African dictators, including Robert Mugabe of Zimbabwe. Porter was introduced to Ben-Menashe by the manager of this Swiss bank in Nassau.
Why could you get in business with a guy like Ari Ben-Menashe?
You know, when you look at
in Africa.
When you look at trying to raise funds for your country like that, there are not that many people out there who are that supportive. Otherwise, the country would have done so much better.
In June 2010, Arthur Porter signed this secret contract with Ari Ben-Menashe. Porter paid him $200,000. In exchange, Ben-Menashe was to deliver $120 million of financing from the Russian Federation for infrastructure development in Sierra Leone. The Russian money was to go to a company that was controlled by Arthur Porter himself. After the deal fell apart in mutual suspicion, Ben-Menashe spoke to National Post reporter Brian Hutchinson.
It was a very convoluted arrangement, and it doesn't really make sense on the face of it. You'd think if Sierra Leone wanted to invest in infrastructure and was looking for help from the global community, they would just deal directly with the Russian Federation. Why did there have to be these middlemen? And why on earth would Arthur Porter be involved in the first place? It never made any sense. It was convoluted, it was strange.
How much money would he make out of this deal? How much money would you make out of this deal?
I have no idea what he would make out of this deal. What I would have made would be, potentially, I'd have the opportunity to have some sort of contracts with firms in Sierra Leone, but I think I'd have made more in terms of the public kudos I would have got in that country.
Brian Hutchinson first confronted Porter about the secret deal in October 2011.
His stories shifted, information changed, details changed. He wasn't consistent with his stories. So I really began to, I became convinced that he was not telling me the truth.
Brian Hutchinson broke the story on November 8, 2011. Porter called the National Post story scurrilous but tendered his resignation to the Prime Minister. Harper accepted it, but thanked Porter for his service to the country. Mr. Harper had been introduced to Porter by the MUHC board chairman, Senator David Angus. In an extraordinary official letter from the Senate of Canada, David Angus wrote to President Koroma of Sierra Leone after the Russian business deal became public, assuring him that Arthur Porter had conducted himself properly and honorably. News of Porter's controversial business deal came as a nasty surprise to former Quebec Health Minister Philippe Couillard, who sat with Porter on that committee.
I was shocked when I saw this as well. This is when he left the Security and Intelligence Review Committee. So to me that was a total surprise and a dismay.
Weeks later, Arthur Porter announced that he was also leaving his job as Director General of the McGill University Health Centre. The hospital board threw a huge goodbye party for him and announced that they would name the street in front of the new hospital Arthur T. Porter Way. He left the country. That might have been the end of the Porter story, but then questions began to pile up about what was really going on in the massive hospital construction project he supervised. The first bad news came from SNC-Lavalin, the main engineering firm.
Sans clôture en béton.
The company's project manager, Riyad Ben Aissa, seen here with Porter on the day of the hospital groundbreaking, was fired last February, then arrested and charged with fraud. He was first accused of giving large payoffs to the sons of dictator Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. In April, the RCMP raided SNC-Lavalin headquarters and discovered evidence that fraudulent agent fees might have been paid to obtain the hospital contract too. In September, police raided Porter's former MUHC corporate offices. And in November, arrested former SNC-Lavalin CEO Pierre Duhem. Along with Ben Aissa, Duhem was charged with defrauding the MUHC hospital. The arrest warrant mentions a counterfeit contract for money paid to a company called Sierra Asset Management, Inc.
When I saw that, I immediately thought of Sierra Leone and Arthur Porter. And then I discounted it. I didn't think that Porter, I didn't think it could be so obvious.
But I guess the number one question for you, Dr. Porter, is did you take this money?
No.
What do you know about it?
No. No, I don't know anything about this.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't take the money?
No.
Have the police tried to talk to you? Have you spoken to the police?
No.
They have not tried to contact you?
No. And at what cost?
In our interview, Porter admitted that he discussed possible personal business deals in Africa with the executives of SNC.
Did you have any business with SNC-Lavalin in Africa, in Sierra Leone? And did you ever talk to Ben Aissa?
I certainly talked to the vice president, and I certainly talked to their president especially, and their past presidents. But in terms of, we never actually conducted any business in Africa. Perhaps at a different time, it would have been wonderful to have the opportunity in the future to do things. But obviously, things changed for all of us.
Since our interview, the Globe and Mail reported that the Sierra Asset Management Company shares the same corporate address as CBH, the Swiss bank in Nassau, connected to Arthur Porter.